Hello, and welcome to my show, The Thriving Woman. I am your host, Carmel Austin.
Monday, another week, I can't believe I'm counting down the minutes till it's Tuesday. Another day back on.
I will be sharing keys to help you form healthy hearts and boundaries. I'll see you in the show. Hello, folks. This is Carmel Austin here from Carmel's Garden, and we are on another amazing episode of The Thriving Woman. In season 3, I have collected a tribe of beautiful folks around the globe who are coming on with me. And today I have my dear friend Emily Reese, who this is her second time that she has come on as a co-host. So welcome back to my stage, Emily.
Oh my goodness. I am so honored and thrilled, and I have added joy right now just because of this opportunity and connecting with you again, Carmel.
Oh, thank you so much, Emily. Folks, if you haven't caught our first episode where we are talking about family caregiving, and this series of The Thriving Woman, we are talking about moving into your kingdom authority and sharing about the Proverbs 31 woman. And Emily and I had such a heart-to-heart discussion in the last episode, and she shared a little bit about her journey, and I learnt too, folks. I didn't know that she'd had a brain injury and that she had different things that have happened to her body. And her and I met with Kingdom Builders Academy, and we're both now coaches. And I'm just so thrilled that Emily has said yes to me and yes to God, and we're going on this journey together. And so, recapping what we talked about in the last episode together, we talked about your identity. Where is your identity? And, making those choices that you can still overcome each day in your life. Doesn't matter about your circumstances. And I think about what Emily shared about having her brain, all over the place, and then having other operations, and look at her now. If I'm looking at her beautiful smiling face, and she turns up encouraging others. So if you're a family caregiver and you are looking for someone to support you, I would encourage you to connect with Emily. She has her website, she has her face group page, she has or face group that you can connect her there. And we're just going to follow on with that theme that we've been talking about, family caregiving and Emily's expertise. But as we're going on too, folks, I love the way that, stories come up and we're reminded about the things that we're going through, and the journey that we're on, and that this is just the start of the journey, that we are heavenly creatures, and we know that we have eternity, and we have a great cloud of witnesses that are there watching over us. And for me, I am the youngest child of 8 children for my family. I come from a Lebanese and Italian background, but my parents were born here in Australia, and I had the privilege in 2010 to travel to Israel, which really, my mum comes from Lebanon, and really it's the same country, it just has a piece of wire. And I got to travel around there, and got to drive up Mount Carmel and learn a little bit about my history and my roots. And I so want to go to Italy and walk those streets as well. And I've got family who are traveling over there at the moment, and friends that I'm seeing all these amazing pictures of Italy. And I'd love to go to the Greek islands and all of those amazing places. But for me here in Australia, that's a big trip. So, how blessed am I that, God's taking me around the world with talking to all of my co hosts and my guests from around the world. So, today, Emily, we are just coming in again on all the wonderful things that we are talking about family caregiving and how we can encourage our listeners and help them with different keys and things that they may be going through where they're feeling overwhelmed by caring for a parent or caring for a loved one or their children or someone in the community. Because Emily had, she's got so much knowledge through her experiences in life. Thank you, Emily.
Yes. Oh my goodness. We could talk about 1,000 things here. And so much when you talk about that packed term, family caregiving. You are part of a family, and it's not only caring for your loved ones, but you're also interfacing with your siblings, and there's so much, a whole new ball of wax, I call it, to work through. And it's all an opportunity to learn in this journey. I think one of the things we tapped on or just started to talk about is just that joy is a choice, Carmel. And also, I want to just kind of peel back a little bit about working from the inside out. A lot of us erroneously believe that if we just change our circumstances, fix our circumstances, it's going to bring us contentment and joy. But that is not true. And once we work on us, and I call it staying, once I realize that I am the only one I can change through God's help and counsel and revelation and so on. It takes work from my part to for that transformation. But once that I'm the one who can change me, and once I change me, that ends up often changing the circumstances for the good. And personally, I found myself kicking against the bricks, trying to get my mom to do what I had suggested she do, because I knew better as her daughter, and I'd been there and so
Yes,
on.
I understand that.
And what I was doing is not only disrespecting her, but also frustrating myself,
Yeah.
frustrating her, and it ended up just being just so difficult. So once I started to learn how to change me, it was marvelous how it transformed our whole relationship and the journey. So that's a huge, we don't want to spin our wheels by just trying to repetitively do the same thing that's bringing more and more stress on ourselves.
Yes, that's so true, folks. Before we came on recording, Emily and I had been chatting about how I would drive to Sydney and over the years do some caregiving with my parents. And they're both past now and they're in eternity enjoying their best life. But, it's a 2 hour drive for me. And I'd go up there as the daughter, and your, your parents don't want you to come in and control everything. You can make suggestions, but they don't want you can control everything. And just recently here in my neighborhood, I have the privilege of I've been cleaning one of my neighbor's houses, and I've been working for her husband for many years. And when he passed away, she moved into my street. And about 4 years ago, her daughter reached out to me because I was doing some cleaning at their chemist, and I helped her mum with cleaning the house when she moved out. And I just do a little bit of part time cleaning to fund my shows, to fund my books, to fund, my passions. And this is one of my passions. And this lovely dear lady, we had torrential rain one Friday night here not long ago. And I go down on a Tuesday or a Monday or a Wednesday because I have a key to her house, and she's 88. already, and she's so busy and active in the community, and she sews quilts and busy helping everybody. And I just have had this privilege through the pandemic where her daughter lives an hour away, and so I'd visit her every second week, and we'd have a cuppa together, and we got to become really good friends. And for me, that filled that gap in me, that I didn't have my mum and my auntie, and local, and that respect that I have for older people. And when her house, what happened was, all her unit got flooded, and her daughter, she went up to her daughter's, and her daughter came down, and her daughter came in like a cyclone. And she's, oh, we're going to do this and do that. And she was worried about her mum, because her mum's starting to, sometimes forget some things. But I see her often fortnightly, but more often weekly. And I think she's amazing for someone her age. She's still driving, she's still cooking, she's still, I go in and look after her house, and it's so easy to do the things to help her and serve her in that way. And as our older people in our community, or our parents age, they do forget things. And sometimes I wish I forgot things that have happened in my life, because it would make life so much easier. And I watch, sadly, my mum's memory go, and but she never forgot me, or she never forgot dad or the family. So when I'd visit her, and because I was going up quite regularly when she was in care, one day before, not long before she passed, she goes, "Are you my daughter?" And I said, "Yes, mum." And she kissed me on the lips. And because I'm the one who is the most like my mum, I look like my mum, I have a personality, I'm larger than life, I have this whole welcoming of people in my life. And I just feel so blessed by that. My mum had a lot of tragedy as a young girl. She lost her mother, but my mum taught me so many things. So when going back to talking about my neighbor and her daughter, I've had the privilege to talk to her daughter on the phone about what steps. Don't bombard your mum about where she's going to move because she's just forgotten one thing or two things. And yes, her memory's fading at 88. But I said to her daughter, I'll just pop down more often, and if I see things that need doing, I'll talk to you about it, and we'll make sure they get done. And that gave her peace of mind. So Emily, share with my audience some of the things that you have done with your clients that can give keys to our audience today, that can give peace of mind to them as the caregiver, or them as the one that wants to solve everything and think that they can run in there. And really, we should come to people with gentleness, and we should come to them with wisdom and integrity. And for me, it's easier because it's not my mum, but she's such a special lady to me, and I'm so privileged. And when a daughter's like, "Oh, my mum's house got flooded, and now I wanted to move," and I'm like, "Your mum's not ready to move. And if she needs the next step, this is what you need to do. Don't push her into things." And like, I've got another neighbor across the road who's quite a few years younger, and he's at home, and he's a lot more disabled than where she's at. She's got many years left to be on her own, and in her familiar places, and driving, and all the things that she does. She just amazes me. So, as you're looking at working with your clients, share some of those keys that you would help our listeners and someone who may want to work with you, about how you would take them down those steps of working in that area and helping them to have peace of mind and peace in their hearts.
Wow, what a wonderful question. So much of our life revolves around our thinking, and we have so many thousands of thoughts a day. And what I'm realizing more and more is that it's very important to take captive those thoughts and bring them into, as it says in the Word of God, bring them into the obedience of Christ. Are these thoughts that are true? Are they thoughts that I can actually prove that they're true? Are they thoughts that serve me? Are they thoughts that I can get, offload or not think about? So a lot of with the coaching is identifying those thoughts, patterns, and habits that are, it's just first it's taking a look and observing, and then putting them in categories, and then breaking them down, teasing them out a little bit so that you can put some order to it, and then also take control over what you're going to do. So once you make a decision about once you identify those destructive thought patterns and habits, you can choose to overcome them. And that's where I come in as a coach to help guide them and process that. And then you end up, it's remarkable, Carmel, but you can then be excited about the powerful transformation that's going to take place in your life. And I've seen it over and over again. And that you can then grab hold of that transformation and actually have anticipation that things are going to change and continue to change for the good. But it's bringing back those habits. So it's a lot of it is developing habits and then sort of chaining those habits, carrying forward those same habits that you've already got under your belt. And bit by bit, you find that, boy, I really have been on a wonderful uphill road towards joy, towards finding my spark again and finding that zest for life. Because I say to people, Carmel, that I think family caregiving is among one of the most difficult jobs on the planet. The family caregiving.
Because, where I know, I'm like my mum. And so, we would grate on each other. And I look at my neighbor and her daughter, and this daughter and her are very much alike. And when I've seen photos of your mum, you look very much like your mum too. So
Yes.
we've learnt that through our experiences. And what Emily is saying is about finding joy in the moments, finding joy in that place where, it's about us changing. We can't change our kids or our neighbors or our elderly people. It's about finding grace with how we speak to them, the not putting expectations on them, from what I hear Emily is saying, and just being at peace with what comes with the next day and what the plans are. And I know for myself, my brother would organize all these things, and then my mum and dad would say no because they'd forgotten they were organized, or everybody wants to hold on to their independence as long as they have. Last year we sold my family home, and my parents had owned it for 67 years, and that was really heartbreaking for me. And at the same time, my mother-in-law, who is alive, she's been alive for a long time on her own, coming up to 18, 19 years, she decided to sell her family home and move as well. And my husband and I, we just grew up from each other 10 minutes away in different suburbs, and we met on Granville Station, and that's a whole other story. And we've already been together for 40 years, and next year we're celebrating 40 years of marriage. And I want to travel and do some trips around the world and go to Italy and Greece and all of those places, that, and celebrate life. I'll be turning 60 next year as well. And there's so much to be grateful for. And folks, if you've heard any of my podcast shows, I was talking to Shona Robin recently, and we've known each other for 30 years. And afterwards, I ended up in tears because we were talking about loss and the loss of my life and the loss, and we're talking about adoption, and so, you know, as women and as people, you know, this whole thing about the proverbs and the caregiving, it's about giving care to yourself. And you know, I came into my 50s, my early 50s, and I'm coming into my 60s soon, but I'm not quite there. I'm still 58. And I realized that if you don't do self-care and
Yes.
you don't make sure you get sleep and exercise and eat well, you've got no strength for anyone. And especially when it's an older person or someone who's got a disability or someone that you care for, or you might be working in that field, you have to make sure that you are doing your self-care so that your cup is filled up. And
That's
these
right.
keys that Emily is talking about is so real, you know, and this is this journey of season 3 of the thriving woman, that we're wanting you to come into your kingdom authority. We're wanting you to thrive in every season of your life, you know. And I just, in the last episode, when I shared with Emily, she talked about she'd been in an accident and her mind was scrambled. When you listen to Emily now, she her thoughts are not scrambled. She's a miracle, a walking miracle. And she's got this beautiful smile, and she puts photos of her and her kids on Facebook, and she honors her mum. And you know, to sit under her as the coach, she, you know, she must just give so much insight and wisdom. But I'm just so thrilled that we are, you know, here chatting about all of these things, and, you know, helping you with your identity and your mindset and all the things that, particularly as we get older and we're caring for our elderly families, and as our bodies age too, we need to do things that are going to be healthy for us. I know that, you know, after each time I do my recordings, I've got to get up and go for a walk and go in the sun and make sure I move my body around, because it doesn't like sitting here in my office all the time on this chair and sitting still. I like to move around, and so I have to make sure I keep myself still because my chair moves. And but you know, that self-care is so evident that we need to do that. So Emily, share some more keys with your journey of, you know, walking through as that caregiver. I know you're an OT, so you have many years of study and many years of working in that field. Share some keys there that can help our audience with what they can do to do that self-care, because I know you're a little bit older than me, but you know, you're just so powerful. You're a powerhouse. And I love the way you just turn up all the time and give so much wisdom.
Oh, Carmel, you're so kind. We were speaking before about how each one of us we have more choices than we realize that we have. And I think one of the biggest um, temptations in family caregiving is to see oneself as a victim. I did not, to say I didn't choose this job. It was just thrown at me. I was the go-to, and tag, you're the one, you're the best one to take care of so-and-so. And you start, again, we were talking about our thoughts, and those
Yep.
thoughts start tumbling down and growing, and it's just a snowball effect
Yeah,
where
it's
before
vicious, isn't
long
it?
it is vicious, and
Yeah,
before long you think, oh my gosh, how do I dig myself out of this?
yeah, yeah.
One thing that you touched on, and this has been a wonderful journey for me as I'm still learning as a coach, and that is, just in terms of having humility and realizing that as I walk in humility, things open up and blossom in such a beautiful way. And it feeds my soul. My siblings had to teach me humility on the way. My sister's a physician. She would come over for date night to hang out with my mom on Fridays and bring her slobby dogs. I had my dog also, but here I was as the caregiver, the daughter, and just kind of busting my butt and trying to keep things in clean and, orderly for my mother, she would just get out all this crappy food, just bring, all kinds of stuff for my mom. And I think, oh, that's not in her diet. And that's not, oh my God, your dog just peed on the floor. And don't you know that? So on and on and on. But I had to, it was a process.
Yeah,
And I was very honest that I was not feeling it. And I
yeah,
started with some of that resentment.
yeah,
But once you identify those destructive processes in your heart, we're
yeah.
talking about it's a
Behavior.
heart issue. God looks at the heart.
Yeah.
So we start from the inside. And once I started dealing with that, I was able to have so much more joy and peace
Oh,
and
praise.
connect with my sister in a different way and my
Yeah,
mother and
yeah.
on and on. But it's not, you eat humble pie. That's what we say in the US. It's not such a fun journey sometimes.
We're
Uh,
always eating humble pie, and that's the thing. I'm an
good thing.
organized person and, I go and clean people's homes and I leave and they're lovely and then I come back and that's fine. But at home, I put expectations on my husband and my dog and people who come in my house. And you don't do it on purpose, but I get this, stop talking to me like that, or, whatever or whatever. And I'm like, I need to show that compassion and I don't need everything to be perfect. It's all right when I make a mess, but I pick on their mess. And you shared about your sister would come with, the diet and the food. And because for her, that was probably her love
That
language
was,
to
that was
bring to mum and bring her dogs over and spend that quality time. And I bet you she might have been the one that really wanted to be there all the time, but wasn't able to. Because I found with my parents that, when my sister, she stepped up when in the end with my dad because she had the time because her children were grown. Where for me, my children were raised in heaven, and that's a whole other story, where I didn't carry my babies. So I had a lot of time to go to Sydney and spend with my parents and have that caregiving thing. And then I've cared for lots of kids in the community and lots of people from my church community. And that is one of my giftings, that I have that nurturing, and I know Emily has that as well. So today we're talking about, really finding who your identity is and in God, and knowing that he created you as that unique person, that person who, that it's okay to step back and look after yourself and not worry about, when you are doing that family caregiving and you want all the ducks to be in a row and you want it all to be perfect. And it doesn't always happen like that, especially with siblings, because
yes,
everybody's got different expectations. And when siblings come over, you got to step away, and that's your opportunity to leave the house and let them
right.
spend
I agree.
time
Yeah.
with your loved one. And and make sure you're fitting in those times where you're going, if you need a massage or a walk or your hair done, or all of those things that are going to nourish you. And that's the idea of this season 3. It's about making sure that, you are spending that time, whether, like, before I do my podcast shows, I like to go up in the sun and I like to get out my books and pray about the show and how we're going to go and what we're going to talk about, so that when we do connect, that what we're saying is going to be life-giving for you, and it's going to encourage you to keep moving through those stages of life. And as Emily and I are chatting, you can see that she has such a well of resources and the things that she has been through. So, just as we're wrapping up, Emily, would you like to share a key with my audience about what they can do to preserve their own self care on this journey of, family caregiving?
Oh, that's so good. And you just brought up, we've sort of been back and forth and oh, you bring up this and remind me of that. Again, going back to our unique God-given identity, that God formed you before, you were even in your mother's womb, and he gave you giftings and talents and personality and what I call your bent. What makes you tick inside? That's something that God placed in you. And you are the only one who can carry that out.
Amen.
And if you do not do your part to nurture that and care for yourself in the way that is best, you're going to lose out. I believe God really, it does grieve the Father, and so many people, your loved one's gonna lose out. Everybody, your people around you in your world, in your sphere, they're gonna miss out on the uniqueness and the gifts. So when you end up really catching this revelation down to your toes, I really believe that your caregiver journey gets lighter and brighter. And it really it just affects all areas of your life. And I think on a future episode, I would like to talk about just letting loose and letting go and going with the flow, being more childlike, and just taking ourselves less seriously.
Oh, yes, Emily,
So,
that's a
so I'm
great.
laughing more and more.
Yes,
I'm
that's
laughing
right.
more and more.
At
I'm learning.
ourselves and
Yes.
realizing that,
Oh,
it's
boy.
okay, and being able to just laugh at situations and not get so frustrated by them and so overwhelmed by them. And folks, this is what it's about, moving into your kingdom authority. Doing those things for your health. I love my essential oils. I love to make up my perfumes. I love to put them on. I love the smell of them. They calm me down. They just help balance me out, and that's God's gift. That's God's creation from the earth, from Mother Earth. And so, this series is about connecting you and helping you be able to really see who you are and your identity. And even though you might be in a situation where you're caring for an elderly or a loved one or children, and sometimes things get hard, go for a walk. Get out of the house. If it's a child or someone you can't leave, find someone to come look after them or put them in a pram, but make sure you do your self-care. And I'm speaking to myself here, and I'm sure Emily, she's nodding along saying yes, absolutely. We all need to do our self-care. So, folks, if this is the first episode or you've been following my series, I have 1 and 2 as well. If you haven't heard anything, you can go to Spotify to The Thriving Woman. You can go to my YouTube channel, Carmel's Garden, and hear my episodes. In season 1, I interviewed artists and other coaches and their journey. In season 2, I interviewed a lot of my authors in my recently released book, The Artist Haven, and a lot of the stories in there about how their creativity and their art has led them to experiences with God, and how they've held on to their art and the freedom in their lives through that. And I have my next book that I'm doing, my co-author book, Courageous Voices Unlocked. We're taking people and the spots are filling up quickly. So if you would like to know more about that, I have my offerings page where you can go into that. I have this other new area of stream of income, grow to daily pay, that if you have been praying and asking God for income and you don't know where to go, and you have a computer and you have some 1 or 2 hours a day, you can join me with that as well. It's a wonderful experience, and you come into this amazing community. And of course, if you are wanting to get some coaching with Emily, you can go to her website. All the links are going to be here in this podcast show as well. So thank you again, Emily. The time just goes by so quickly when we're chatting. And I just love that we have more episodes that will be coming up where we're talking about all of those things with self-care, with making sure that, we have joy in our
Yes.
lives and joy on our faces. And even though we come against difficult things, that we can have joy and we can express that to others, and we can have the grace to have that for ourselves as well. So thank you again for joining me, and I will say I will see you in another episode of The Thriving Woman. God bless for now.